probably enough. Do you agree, James? We'll get things
Oh,
underway.
I totally agree. Yeah, let's introduce ourselves, let people know who they're staring at blankly.
Absolutely. So appreciate you joining us. We're both from Proptech Group. I currently work in the team that looks after CRM products, including Vault RE. James is from our Eagle CRM team and specialises in our Eagle product. But we're certainly both been in the real estate business for a very long time. I personally was an agent probably about 10 years ago and have spent a fair bit of time working with one of the big portals, really helping agents with their Proptech solutions. So great to have you here and looking forward to sharing some tips and tricks we learned along the way. And what about yourself, James? Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, so I've pretty much dabbled in most sides of things in real estate. I even, probably started off right in the beginning as an assistant for a salesperson, moved my way through administration, marketing, worked for multiple different real estate agencies from large franchise groups, and then come over to the IT side of things, where I've worked for a few different CRM providers now, been with Eagle Software for a couple of years, being one of the companies under the PTG group. And look, I've just covered everything really. And so it's, I like to just get into it, chat about what we can do, get you guys some awesome websites out there and get some leads pouring in. From my side of things, you're going to hear me talk a lot about content today. That's really where I think things power the sites.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good intro, and I suppose just to intro the Proptech Group business. So it's a relatively new founded business as such, but the brands that sit within the business is something that's been around a very long time. So dating back to sort of 1997, when the My Desktop CRM product was first launched by Scott and Adam, it's now they've gone on to build the Vault RE platform. And it's now the leader in the marketplace when it comes to CRM space. You may have heard recently as well, our acquisition of Eagle Software, once again, one of the other leading products in the market for those boutique businesses that really want automation out of the box. So Proptech Group now forms quite an extensive suite of products that are all about helping agents ultimately solve major pain points in their business. We really want to help streamline, automate, and make the lives of agents easier without replacing agents. The process is not broken. It's just we want to enhance a lot of the ways that technology can make the experience better for them as users, for their end clients, and ultimately delivering more efficiency across their business. And ultimately as well, within their Proptech stack is saving them money. It has become a crazy world out there of the number of subscriptions that a real estate business can run. And we're really here today to help understand some of those pitfalls as well. At the end of today's session, really encourage you to take that time to book a session with one of the team to understand in your business how we can really assist. So let's jump on through. We want you to get the most out of today's session. We ideally encourage you to switch off email, to switch off the phone, engage with us, hang around till the end. There's going to be some great tips and tricks. You will get a copy of this recording sent through to you in the next 48 hours or so, but we also encourage you to ask questions of us while you've got us here as well. So definitely hang about for that. We just kick off a quick poll as well. We'd love to get a bit of a feel for who we've got on the call today. So we just have a quick question. So we'll kick off this poll. Feel free to jump on and just answer that for us. Fantastic. We'll close off that poll now and we'll get started. So looking at a large number of agents online with us today, and quite a few of you also being clients as well. So closing off that poll, and we'll launch back in to the deck. So what we plan to cover is why a real estate agency's website is still an important part, and why you should be considering investing in your website as a real estate agent and a real estate agency business. We want to also cover off on what is going to make that the most successful real estate agency website that you have. And we want to focus, as James alluded to, content being key here. So we're going to cover off on some strategies, cover off some integrations that are really important for your consideration when you are looking at your website. We then want to really drive into how do we generate these leads. That's why we've come here today. We know the market at the moment is pretty crazy. We know that finding your future sellers and that sort of thing is one of your biggest pain points and challenges. And we want to try and help with that. So we're going to cover off on some marketing automation, look at that lead capture and how we can really nurture those leads once they are in your database. We will touch on pricing as well, but at the end of the day, pricing is not the be-all and end-all when it comes to getting this right within your business.
And I'm pretty much going to be going in through things of going, look, your listings are on your website, which is excellent, but they are most likely on about 5 other websites. You might be going on 10 other websites. It could be endless. So it really comes down to what else are you doing on your website behind the scenes for your business? And if you don't know, well, what should you be doing? So do make sure you hang around for our Q&A at the end, because that's where we're going to get through some of those questions that might relate to your niche business.
We do seem to appear to have people saying there's no audio. It does seem odd. So James and I can hear each other, which is a good starting point. Can we just get someone in the chat there just to confirm if they can hear us? Just throw a question in that box at all for us, that we can see that you definitely can hear us there today. Yes, Wayne can hear us. Thank you, Wayne. Fantastic. So we might push on. It's just maybe an early glitch. Sorry about that, James. Let's continue.
Fantastic. So if we just want to back there, if we're now coming into why you should invest in a real estate website. So obviously you've got your listings on your website, which is excellent. We want to look at what else can we do here. So clients are going to be coming to check you out, which this is a perfect chance for us to find out more about them. How can we qualify them as a lead as they qualify us as an agent? So it really comes back to your CRM, because that's going to be kicking things off like automated marketing plans. That whole qualifying life cycle begins there. So you want to invest in your website, because this is where you're going to be generating leads from, and where you should be generating leads from. And that should come back to a well-invested CRM system. And what other things do you think why they should be investing in a website with us or other providers that specialize in real estate?
Yeah, it's a really good point there, James. I think for me, trust and credibility is key. So that's where your website can really come into its own and be a central place that you have full control over. We know there's lots of portals that are controlling things like reviews and those sort of things now, but bring it back to your site. Any of this traffic you're generating, get it back to your site where your listings can be controlled. You can capture data back into your CRM, as we said, but build that trust and credibility. That's what we want to first and foremost. People are coming to your website 24/7. It's your shop front that's always open, and more agents now operating without a shop front. So it's important that your website is that that marketplace they can come to. They can really determine that you're the trusted provider, that local expert in their area, and preparing them when you get to the living room to provide that that appraisal, that sort of in knowledge of the local market to indicate that now is the time to sell, that they do have that feeling that they know you already. So that'd be my take on it. But ideally, a lot of this, and as we say, it starts from mobile, doesn't it? So think about where that traffic is sort of commencing, and a lot of that perhaps is sitting on the couch, they're watching Netflix, they've also got their phone there beside them, and they're sort of starting to come into real estate mode. They're getting alerts of properties. They're getting your newsletter come through perhaps, and they're wanting to just be able to start that journey in exploring and coming into real estate mode off your website. So think about as well, once you've got your first properties there, you're taking people through and you're checking SMS upon arrival. Where's that taking the buyer as well? Get that back to your website once again, allowing them to take more action. We want to give them more information about the property. We want them to be able to self-serve things like a copy of a contract. We want them to have access to perhaps making that offer or expression of interest as well. But what about yourself there, James? From that mobile perspective, what's your passion point there?
Yeah, absolutely right. Like, if we're speaking just on the website to begin with, especially if you're working in an area where your demographics are younger, the more than likely they are visiting your company's website via their mobile device. And, it needs to be responsive, meaning it needs to cater to mobile phones. You don't want one that just has, a huge logo, distorted images as soon as they arrive on that website. Because look, if they're checking you out for credibility, they're going to quickly hit the back button and check out another competitor. And that's actually something you should be doing as well, is do compare your website to your competitors, because maybe you think that they aren't, they don't, maybe they don't compare to you as far as how many sales you do a year. You think, hey, look, they're pretty small fry compared to me, or maybe they're huge compared to who I am. But when we're talking about digitally, everyone's kind of on an even scale. So you can compete with the big players out there if you look awesome. And as you're talking in this about, is also SMSs coming through. How can people check into your inspections via mobile? All those type of things, really. Any activities that want to happen through that transaction, mobile should be leading.
That's
And
for
that sort of
sure.
brings us down into how do you keep pace with this breakneck industry? If people are getting into mobile, your competitors are doing all these digital things, what should you be doing out there?
For sure.
And
So yeah,
so,
that
as Daniel mentioned earlier, part of your website's job is to raise your credibility. And so, what type of things would you be doing there, Daniel?
Yeah, look, I think as we said a minute ago there, that real fire in the market, especially here in Queensland, and you're sort of coming out in Victoria, starting to get back into things, I think, down there, aren't you now? Um, but I'm noticing that agents, they're dealing with significant volume. So how can we help with automated responses to those inquiries, whether they're coming in day or night? It's alleviating a lot of that pressure in response times. How can we keep everyone informed so that you're not having any of those buyers upset with you with properties going off under offer that have just hit the market or off market is common as well at the moment. And then how can we feed them through to relevant, perhaps blog content that is really relevant to them in their journey? So are they preparing their home for sale? Are they considering staging of their property to get to present it the best possible way? It's just some of the ways I think I see savvy agents at the moment trying to get some work-life balance back. Just bring in some of this automation and use some of these tools and things, which we'll sort of cover off in a moment. Some of those integrations, some of those pieces of tech that we've talked about already. Anything else to add from your perspective there? Like it is competitive, isn't it? It's the industry is moving fast.
Yeah, it really comes down to like your knowledge of the market is going to set the tone. If you don't deal with a lot of commercial property, don't make that the niche on your website because there'll be somebody else that's doing that really well. If you specialize in property management, make that your focus. Keep up to date with everything that's happening with legislation changes, what's happening with investment rate, mortgage rate changes and things like that, because that's your market that we want to keep ahead of. And that kind of leads us into really what makes a successful real estate website. And so, it comes down to, is it going to be property focused? Are you going to be going versus results versus your knowledge base? But all this stuff, whatever you do decide on, how are we going to present that as well? And look, I hear the word clean thrown around so much when people come forward, wanting a new website. They want a clean looking website. But let's be honest, it's pretty subjective. What one person might be called clean, another might call it bland. So it really comes down to if it doesn't add value on your site, does it need to be there? What is the most important message that needs to be conveyed? And is that message there? Is anything taking away from that? Look, I don't need something to be flashing for it to be seen. I don't need a big flashing free appraisal in the left-hand corner. The website should lead me to that. What are your thoughts around that, mate?
Yeah, no, you see some crazy stuff online, don't you? And often it's just keeping it simple, stupid, being that philosophy as well. But look, for me, a lot of it's what about getting people to come back to your site? How can we add that much value that they want to come back to your site? Think about how you could use your other local businesses in the community to support each other, to perhaps have some special offers running with them. What's a coupon offer? Doing a bit of an interview and that sort of thing. How good is that going to be for building that credibility of your local presence, your local community engagement? So I think that's a good one for me. Around also think about what's happening with some of the local school communities. What's on? It's more content opportunities for you as well there. Is there a fete coming up? Is there markets on locally? Is there a new food vendor in town? And you want to just help them, which is in turn going to help you at getting that awareness about your brand view and helping find more potential sellers out there and just being able to educate and inform. I think, like we talked about, adding value being a real key here as well. One of my other little passions is around street profiles. You can access this information off domain.com.au around street profiles, which I think can be a great way to sort of drive this back down to something super local, super relevant, rather than a whole suburb of stats and data, which can be irrelevant. I've also taken to Facebook and run a Facebook group called Brisbane Real Estate and Property Insights. We're sort of sharing content across that every week from the auctioneers across the Queensland market and Brisbane market around how the auction stats are going, sharing live streams that the agents are doing out there in market. So definitely follow along to those local groups that can provide you with insights from the ground from real people, rather than sometimes the news, the doom and gloom, the media that are overinflating things. Get an insight from the local community that are hanging out on these platforms and in these groups as well, I think is another real good one. But like you touched on, how is the website going to look and feel when you get there, I think is another big part to it. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and there's some great ideas for content there. I know like a lot of people struggle for ideas, so what's going on, what's happening with the local schools, the local community, that's some excellent ideas. And yeah, once you get all that stuff in there, how are we going to make it look nice? And that's where we get into UI, which is user interface, or UX, which is user experience. So what we're looking at here is I like to think of a website, if I really break it down, is think of it like a child's book. Each page wants to be a simple message with something visual to be ingested. And why do we keep turning the pages? Because I've been informed, but I want to know some more. Think of your website's user interface like this. It should lead me where I need to go, but not give too much all away at once. So I keep on turning. Also, just because something looks amazing doesn't mean it's adding value. And what I mean by that is so many times I land on, these boutique websites that look like I've just walked into some amazing art gallery, but I still can't find anything. I'm struggling. All I can see is maybe a contact form or something like that. Yeah, that's whoever you've got as a photographer is doing an awesome job. But am I going to hire you as my agent? Look, I don't even know who you are at this stage. So it really needs to come down to what are those key messages, lay them out, and that's where the word clean comes into place. If we don't need it, get rid of it. But if it does have a reason, put it on the page there. But lead me through a journey. And, when we're talking about that, what are your thoughts on navigation, mate?
Yeah, navigation, like we touched on earlier, mobile being a big part of where this journey will start. So how does it look on a mobile? How does it look on a tablet? And then the desktop as well. And thinking about the different times that these people will engage with your site. So when they're on their mobile, they're perhaps just that passive audience that's visiting for whatever reason that they might have seen some of your content online. But someone who's on the desktop, they're often at the pointy end of decision making and those sort of things. So it's important that the experience when they're on there is going to be like you said, call to action, allows them to submit their details. Do they need to book that appraisal in? Do they need to find out something particular around property management and becoming that landlord for the first time? So just think that through as well. So mobile friendliness being key, but also then how do you collect this information? So when we have a lot of the websites, they have those contact forms, which you touched on there. Can we smarten those forms up, and can we have those being auto-filled? Can we have that data flowing back into the CRM and then eliminating data entry? So that's a huge passion for me over the last sort of 10 years in some of my roles previously. Paperless office. How can we get to a point where there's not someone having to sit there data entering into a system? It's prone for error. It's inefficient. We need to be focused on those dollar productive activities. So I'm huge on how can we help automate some of that flow of data into your business, and your CRM once again is the heart of this. So I think we'll take a bit of a journey now around some of these design philosophies, and we'll just click and have a look at a couple of examples. How about that?
I think that's a great idea.
Cool. So tell us about the websites on screen. There's a couple from Website Blue, a couple from our Eagle team that have been built out to suit different purposes. So tell us about
Yeah, I
those.
think so. If we have a look at what we're basically the main thing here is that we've got a mixture of different websites and different goals when people get onto the home pages. Because look, you got about 3 seconds when people land on your website if they're going to stick around or not. Now, if they're going to stick around, it's going to depend on your marketplace, because some areas having properties on your website will work well. And reasons why that would work well, before I start hammering it as to not do it, is things like business brokers. they work in a niche business, a niche area where I am coming to their website to find a very specific type of listing. Same with rural, you might be dealing with clearing sales and things like that. That's fantastic. Have those on your homepage because that's why people are coming to your website. But then if we're thinking about it, that if I'm working in a metro area, residential property, let's be honest, most of the time people are going to one of the major portals if they're finding a property to buy. So our homepage in that position wants to be more about, hey, what I can do to sell your home, or this is the information I know about the area, or call to actions. So really think of your homepage as, what do I specialize in? If I'm working in an area where it's very niche types of properties, properties can work on my homepage. If I'm working in an area where it's very competitive, we work primarily with residential sales, and it's very hard to get new appraisals. I want my homepage to be lead generation, all about what I know and what I specialize in. Now, if I work in an area where it's a bit of both, maybe I'm in a border town where we've got quite a bit of residential, but a bit of rural, a little bit far out as well. That's when you might get into a hybrid site. Show off what you do for property management, but down there also, I want to have my clearing sales on offer. So there's no one hard, fast rule with this. It comes down to, once again, knowing your market and knowing what you need to deliver to that market. Anything to add there, mate?
Yeah, no, I think you've really summed that up well. I think for me, uh, yeah, it's just like you said, knowing that local market, knowing what's important to your clients, specializing on something. You can't be everything to everyone, but I think, as we said, your website is there. It's not something to just set and forget, but to improve. We can provide you a lot of stats behind your website of where the traffic's going, where they're spending time. But a lot of that will come out, I think, in our next few slides around what you're going to put on this website and the content strategy. So let's dive right into that.
It's probably a great timing for another poll around
Another
content,
poll,
I reckon.
sure. We can
Yep.
absolutely kick off another poll. So we'd like to hear from you guys now, and we're going to throw to, do you currently do any blog posting? So just take a moment to quickly answer that for us, and we can keep pushing ahead. Anything else you'd like them to be considering when they're answering this question? Just blogs, really. Hey, are they sort of
Yeah,
writing
it could
anything
be blogs,
specifically
just
to
even
host?
could be anything in here in
Yeah,
regards to, even if it's, sales you've done, you got a cool sale with you with a signboard, put that in there. Are you doing market updates? Are you doing, hey, how to prepare your home for sale? These could be a very, very different type of blog posts. Everyone's got different markets they work in.
for sure.
That's
So
good,
just looking at the
nearly
feedback there, yeah, so
close to
room for
50-50
improvement.
there.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's what we're here today.
That's
Like, we know a lot of you are looking for that support in what to do and some ideas there. So that's what we're going to cover off on in the next slides. Anything you'd like to add there?
Yeah, so that's I'll jump straight into about content then. If sitting back and going, well, no, because I wouldn't even know what to do with blog posting or where to
Yeah.
begin with it. And don't be hard on yourself. It's all right. You did get into real estate. You didn't get into content writing. So look, we're not going to blame you. But unfortunately, getting into real estate, your competitors might be very good at content writing, and that's what you're now competing with. And
True.
really, when we're thinking about content, it's really about us creating a library so that we can direct people to our library, being our website, because content should start on your website and then be shared to social media, linking back to your website, shared via email newsletters that link back to your website. We want to get everything back to your website. I might be tempted to post my happy buyers story with my outside the property with the sold sign directly onto Facebook with a cool photo and carry on with my day. But to really leverage the shareable event, I would create a blog post about the story of the sale. Tell me about the vendor, what was how did you get the listing? Maybe it took a few months because they were doing up the property. Then tell us about the marketing campaign. What did you do? You might have done some paid Facebook ads, something, some really cool other campaigns. And then, add that photo in there with a beautiful testimonial from those buyers or sellers. And now with that blog post, I've got something I can share out to everywhere. You know, if I am getting social media marketing, I could boost that post, but I've had a reason to share a story. It's something interesting that's going to tell the world what I do, how I do my business, that I've had a successful result, that clients liked what I did with them, and I'm driving people back to my website. So content should start on your website. Any thoughts to add?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think you can create these snackables almost of content. So you, like you said, they're building the story, but you can then snip some of those to be able to then reuse into socials and those sort of things later. But like you said, get it started on the website first. So for me as well, FAQs are a good one there. So think about what the buyers are asking, the potential sellers are asking you. Build out content around that so you can answer those questions. They're things they'll be typing into Google searches a lot of the time. So if you've got the answer to that FAQ on your website, it's going to rank. So they're really important. When you talk about those market updates, like I said, make it really, really relevant to them. Pick a street a week if you're going to do that localized street profiling type stuff. I like that. And yeah, that search engine optimization is thrown around a lot, but it's just coming up with unique content that you're posting regularly that Google loves. And that's going to help you in the long run, help drive more traffic of really relevant audience to your site. So I suppose we should get into maybe some key features and functionality. What do you think?
Yeah, look, main thing for me is part of your strategy around people being able to easily assess your agency strengths and what you can offer. So it just really comes down to, you're going to hear me go harp on about this because it really is simple and this is what needs to be done, is we also want people to be able to contact you as easily as possible and give them a reason to. So if I'm thinking about key features and functionality, what do I want my website to do? I'm thinking things like live chat could be great if I'm fielding a lot of questions around services. You know, what do you guys do? Do you offer this? Also, quick call to actions on my website. For example, instead of having that flashy free appraisal word going on, use something leading like after a crazy 18 months in the market, click here to find out if your property has risen in value. You know, that way there, we all know it's been a crazy 18 months. And look, I wouldn't know what's happened with my property in the last 18 months out of that. These are things that are actually going to interest people rather than just a flashing free appraisal that I want to close out of that website. So features and functionality, just ease of use. Lead this horse to the water. Anything to add to that one, mate?
Sure. No, I think you're spot on there. Absolutely. The only other thing it says there in the headline of this slide there, that Facebook's free business messenger tool. So it can be quite easy for you to craft a bit of automation into the way someone can interact with your Facebook page. So take a moment to check that out as a Facebook business profile and just see how you can nurture someone very quickly from just submitting an inquiry, asking perhaps, yeah, do you do free appraisals, those sort of things. It can nurture someone almost on that quick journey, and ultimately you're getting, by the time you start interacting with them, a very warm lead there. So I think this also ties in once again to integration. So we'll dive across the integrations and sort of start to touch on some of the ones we believe are most important there. So yeah, over to you, James, around some integrations.
Yeah, so look, the number one integration I will sing from the mountaintops from should be your CRM. You should have a website that your leads can feed back into your database automatically. So they're not lost, and so the automated BDM plans are kicked off. Because look, if we all know what it's like where you have a busy day and things get crazy, you've got emails pouring in, all you need is a particular lead, doesn't get entered in from the website, to your CRM if it doesn't integrate naturally, or worst case, you don't even have a CRM and it's just been stored in Outlook and nothing ever happens, or there's no real follow-ups, maybe a phone call, we couldn't get a hold of them, but look, then it's just lost. Nothing takes place
Things through the
afterwards.
cracks, aren't
So if
they?
I was,
Yeah, they slip through the cracks.
oh yeah, and if they've contacted another agency, trust me, you ain't got the lead. But the one way we can boost the power of your website is to make it a resources platform for your clients. So for example, things like online tenant applications where people can apply directly through your website or book inspections directly through your website as well. And that way there, it gives you a reason to direct those type of people to your website over a third party, because you say, hey, look, go to my website, you've got a 3D tour plan there or something like that. What other integrations have you had success with your clients?
Yeah. Some of the big ones that I really like that we offer is the Props platform, relatively new business there, but really streamlining now the way offers can flow in for an agent and just take control of that. You're not getting offers come through via text, via email, written on scraps of paper. You're able to really just send that traffic once again back to your site and then go through a process there and capturing the offer itself, and ultimately being able to manage that offer through the process as well. So it's able to really create that urgency and competition between buyers as well, and help you deliver the highest price in the shortest space of time, and get some time back as well. So Props, Propps, a great one to check out. Data services, so that core logic price find integration, we're doing some cool things there with price finder powered suburb data. So when someone lands on your site, curious what your house is worth, pop in your address, and then it obviously aims to capture their details. Even if they don't provide their first name, last name, email, and mobile, it's your website. So we've got that list of addresses there for you that you can then, a warm lead, go and approach that, whether it's a door knock or whether you've got their details in your database to explore how you can help them further. They've taken the time to plug their address into your site. That's a great opportunity to go and knock on the door there. And one other big part of this is the cost of websites. Obviously, we'll touch on at the end, but we're now finding that agencies are using connection services to generate another revenue stream into their business. And what I mean by that is they've got electricity, gas, phones. You're referring not just your property management business tenant clients through this process, but every client that touches your business. And even any buyer you meet on a Saturday at an open home, just letting them know of your concierge type service that can be white labeled for you to help generate a revenue stream for your business. So that the revenue can be quite nice, and it's a way to offset a lot of these Proptech type subscriptions that you're going to have within your real estate business. So that would be another one for me around just helping you with a revenue stream that's going to overall help offset the cost of your tech stack. So there are a couple of big ones for me. What about marketing automation? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, so speaking of leads in there, mate, that does bring us into marketing automation, because your website should be all about lead capturing. You work so hard to get your brand out there that when people come to check out your agency, we want to make sure those people are going back into your database. Your website should be integrated with your CRM so that when clients inquire on your listings, they come back into that CRM, kickstart the flow. This builds our database of clients that we can market new listings to, so that's a win. Also, things like when we get appraisals in, I could see how many people are looking for properties like that. So it helps us then even get appraisals once we've got those leads in there. You know, like I've worked with some niche agencies that require some really sort of specialty things to happen. Things like when a confidentiality agreement is signed, then information about that listing can be released. So in that situation with that business broker, we worked with them to create a form on their website that when it's completed for a particular listing, then it will automatically shoot that property's information back to that client. So we can really get savvy and strategize how we want to automate things. Just let us know, hey, how does your business work? What special things do you need to happen behind the scenes? What ideas have you got around marketing automation, Daniel?
Yeah, look, I think you've covered it well. I think the platforms you use, they need to have that ability to, for one, create them, the automation and workflow, and not be too different to what you're currently doing, but just take out those manual tasks and have a lot of that email, SMS happen automatically as part of the flow. Within Eagle, is it right there, James, that there's 100 automations out of the box with that software?
Correct. There's a lot in there, and depending on your subscription level, once you start looking at things like a CRM Plus plan, there's even smarter ones that get added in there.
What's one of your favorites in that space? Like I've seen some amazing ones in there. What would you say are the most used automations within Eagle?
Well, we've got some really powerful ones around inspection bookings. So if you've ever used tools out there that'll enable people to book and register for inspections online, and so through that, with an Eagle, when people register for inspections, it's got a whole workflow. So depending at what stage they're at, 3 hours before the inspection time, it sends out an email and SMS asking them to confirm their time so we don't turn up with nobody even though people registered the day before. And then that's going to notify the agent that then when they come through the inspections, if it's a rental property, can send back a link for a rental application form. So from them landing on your website, they can register, confirm, come through an inspection, shoots them back the application form, and the property manager's never done anything so far, apart from, of
Mm.
course, taking them through the inspection, but none of those manual communications.
Yeah, it's almost like magic, isn't it? So no, they're big important parts to this. That if your current systems aren't delivering that level of experience and that level of automation, your staff are missing out. So we really would love to assess that and determine if there is ways we can help. But yeah, look, you're here again, lead generation. So what are some of those tips around lead generation that we can really impart on you today?
Well, for me, the main thing is before we can capture our lead, we need the bait. So, how are you getting people to your website? Are you sharing those blog posts on social media? That 48% that are doing those blog posts, are you sharing them out to places? Have you got a monthly newsletter that you're pushing those blog posts out? Do you have any further information maybe on your listings that isn't available on other websites? Do you have an awesome video library of helpful tips? Earlier, Daniel, you mentioned the FAQs, suburb profiles, all those type of things that with why would I come to your websites? Out of all the other websites, what have you got that somebody else doesn't? Because that's going to generate the lead because I'm now interested in visiting your website. You've generated a lead out of me. Anything to add on that one?
Just that bottom dot point for me as well. Some of these savvy agents that I speak to day in, day out, what's that little extra tip that's helping them have that edge in market? And that'd be something like that VIP list, property alert. We're going to launch the property on our website a day earlier or a week earlier, whatever that might be, to just create this flow of how a program will run and a point of difference when you're in front of a seller as well. Like how can you really stand out in front of a seller? It's competitive. Other agents are competing for the same listing. What can you do to talk about those case studies of what's worked in the past on other properties and how you use a staged approach perhaps to get your property to market and leverage the different channels and give that value once again of why someone may sign up to the website. Is they keep missing out on properties or they're under contract when they can acquire. This can be a great way and a reason why people will want to choose to partner with you and come back to receive those alerts and those sort of things. So incentivize that signing up would be key. And yeah, giving people the ability to personalize their experience. So that a lot of the time ties back to those, what are those buyer requirements, tenant requirements, and your system and your CRM being able to help manage those so that when you do send out information to your database, it's absolutely relevant to them in their situation. So I suppose we dive into a bit of around that lead capture part then. So
Yep.
what can we tell them on that?
So before it was about generating the leads, getting people to the website, giving them a reason to come to us. But I used an analogy earlier about the horse to water. So once we have led that horse to the water, what is my final incentive to get them to drink? And what I mean by that is, why am I going to give you my name and email address? If I was a buyer, my main goal is to find listings that suit me before the rest of the market does, so I can get in there with my offer. Well, that leads back into what you were saying just before, Daniel, about that VIP list. That gives me a reason because I'm providing buyers with property alerts a day before listings hit the market. So I've incentivized them to sign up because they're going to get something out of this, especially if they're an investor. Properties a day before anyone else sees them is an awesome foot in the door. So that's one way I can do it is for buyers, give them a reason to sign up to my database because they'll get VIP listings. Then if I am, say, a first home buyer, maybe you've got some tips there about subsidies, about how to find a solicitor, about what to look at when you're looking at homes. That gives me another reason to sign up for your database. Think of your different client types and have something for them. For example, for vendors, an ebook on preparing their home for maximum sale price, because that's their goal. For landlords, up-to-date investment and rental market updates, because that's the thumb on the pulse that they want to have. Any thoughts you want to add on there, mate?
Yeah, just stay across the updates from the places like REIQ and other industry partners that there's a lot of safety and compliance stuff coming through as well at the moment, isn't there? So just making sure that you can educate and inform your local market so you are that go-to resource, as we keep saying. Just conscious of time today, we'll keep pushing through. I want to sort of get into that. How do we nurture this data once we really get and gather this? So tell us your thoughts on that, lead nurturing, JR.
Yeah, when we've got the client on our website, we manage to get their details and they now sit in our database. The hard work has been done, but now the most important work begins, sticking to our promises by providing them what they signed up for. Too many times have I seen newsletter subscribe options on client websites and the agency has never since sent out a newsletter, but they've got people subscribed. So create a monthly marketing schedule. What days will you send out new listings and open for inspections? What days will you publish your new blog posts? What days will you share to social media? What day will you send out your monthly newsletter? Then automate the rest, because those are the manual things that you do need to interact with, but wherever we don't need to touch it, automate it. So things like if you're going to do that new listings, open homes, have it set up as an automatic weekly email so it's set and forget. When someone signs up for one of your vendors, prepare for home sale ebook, have the website automatically send them that book. So you don't have to, it doesn't take a day for you to send that email out. Have a follow-up task that you follow up with them a couple of days after, because we're always trying to find reasons in sales to call people. So a simple, hey, did you get that email about preparing your home for sale, is one of those reasons. This is why a marketing schedule is so helpful. It doesn't need to be busy, but it does need to do something. Think of it that 2 activities a week isn't much, but over a year, that's 100 activities that you weren't doing before. Anything to add before we go on to the next?
Yeah, no, I think it's priceless. Like, yeah, just that calendar, bit of planning, bit of forethought as to what you want to achieve, and then getting the systems to schedule that stuff so you don't have to necessarily remember. We know you get busy. We know there can be a missed opportunity here. So really get a lot of that mapped out so that you can set it up just to happen. Yeah, I think that is certainly the key with making sure it happens. Is that's the biggest thing. A lot of webinars, a lot of content that we all have taken time to sort of sit through, I think, is please take away something today that you can actually implement and stick with. So that's where at the end of the session today, we're really going to encourage you to book in that time with one of our team, go through where you're at and understand your next step. So it's not about implementing everything. There's a lot, it can become overwhelming, but what is that thing you want to commit to that you feel will suit your local market, suit your business, your team, and then let us help you implement it and stick to it, I think would be key. So we're going to dive into a little bit of conversation around, well, how much does all this stuff cost? We're not going to go into everything, but ideally what has changed is that, yeah, your website is a 24-hour shop front now. It's not just somewhere that people might end up. It's got to really help build that credibility for you. So it's important that when you are looking at your website, it's going to cost you some money here, whether or not it's upfront, whether or not it's on a subscription. And that's the way both Eagle and Website Blue have moved, is to a subscription. So you can basically just ensure that your website's not being forgotten. And based on everything we've gone through today's session, you can see the importance of a website. You can see the importance of the CRM capturing this data, creating that call to action, and helping people through the real estate journey. They're going to be at different stages, and keep them coming back. We want them to engage with your website once they've bought for valid content, whether it's that local business type information, who's got the best pizza, who's got the best gelati in town. When it comes to costs, be planning to also think about things around investing for optimization. How do I rank better in a Google search? So we can touch on that and help you with scenarios around how to best manage that. And think about it being not to rank for your business name. That's easy. How do we rank for other things? Is it a real estate agent in your key suburb? Is it a property estimate in your suburb? Those sort of key terms. So a niche term also is going to potentially have less traffic, but be less competitive. So it may cost you less to appear in those things. And that can be very powerful when you are bidding for keywords in what they call SEM, search engine marketing. Google pay-per-click ads, the ones you see at the top of the text-based Google search we all use day in, day out. So just be really thinking about that. That can form part of the planning and the discussion when we catch up with you as well. But tell us, James, from your perspective around pricing and structure.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me that changed was, when Eagle and Website Blue, we moved away from setup costs for our off-the-shelf website designs. As look, where I was finding, especially for new agencies, or agencies maybe had a bit of a bad luck with a previous provider. They'd already just laid out so much money getting their previous website, but they now wanted something that integrated with their CRM. So, to remove that hurdle, we moved over to a monthly service fee. And there's different subscription levels depending on what you require, what your budget allows for, if you need added on functionality. But it just enables us to provide a more effective ongoing monthly service, because a one-off fee relates to a one-off service. But a website is ongoing, it should grow, it should continually improve. There's ongoing support that we're providing, ongoing advice. So as such, it's a monthly service. And that's just given us so much more power, because agencies now can look at their website long term. It's not what can I afford today. It's all right, this website's going to be lasting for me for 3+ years. I'm going to spread that over that. That's going to be monthly. What are we going to do each 6 months? Let's do a review on this site. We find as well agencies are now more interacting with their websites, because they know, hey, it's something I pay for each month. What are we getting out of this? So it works for both parties.
Fantastic. Yeah. I just want to probably take a moment now to drive home. What are those key takeaways? What have we really covered off on? Tell us about those.
Absolutely. Well, look, I can't say it enough, but I'll keep saying it. Content is king. Like, really, that's how Google's ranking your website. So, even if you disregard anything, you don't want to do Facebook, you don't want to do newsletters, you don't want to do any of those extra merit things, well, think about your Google ranking, because we should all care about that. Where are you coming up in your search results compared to your competitors? Content is what your site's getting graded on. The other websites have got your same properties. That actually gives your website a negative mark, because you're seen as a duplicator of content, being properties. So content, original content, localized market content, that's how you're going to get up your search engine rankings. And then call to actions. What am I doing once I'm on that website? Also remembering your homepage doesn't need to be about property. And look, before I take over it, I'll let you hammer in those last 2 points there, Daniel.
Cool. Yeah, let's give some reasons to sign up to this database. So not just click here to sign up to our newsletter, like you said before, and then never send one. What value will you receive after clicking through? And even if it's back to that singular property, you're going to get something here that you wouldn't have received off a portal listing here. We've got additional information, whether it's body corporate disclosure statement, whether it's that make an offer button, really improving the experience. So they really want to come back to engage with your website. And coming back to it again, we said it all the way through this. How does your website interact with your CRM? So we know a lot of the time when you're starting a new business, your friends, mothers, uncles, son builds websites. It's fantastic, and we do want to support them as well. But we've seen time and time again that it often ends in tears because the time and the integration just doesn't come together. So we really feel it's important that when you are setting up a business or making changes within your business, that you really consider the opportunity to have website and CRM talking seamlessly together. And we're talking two-way integrations as well a lot of the time. So we can push and pull the data. You can deliver a better experience on your website for listings based on you having control over what you populate about your listings. So I often talk to agents about tagging their properties with the things that are being asked for. The style of property. Is it a Queenslander? Is it a Victorian? Is it a heritage? There's sort of some of the things you get spoken about, but often they're not tagged very well in the databases or in these portals, so people struggle to find them. So thinking about that as well. So I suppose we'd love to know if you'd like a book a session. We'd like you to stay on and just throw a few questions at us as well. So we'll kick off a final poll just to understand who does want to really book in that session so we can reach out. And ideally click through, tell us whether you're interested in that. We've got a large team. It's not just James and myself. So one of us will reach out to really book that in. And yeah, if there's anything you'd like to ask us now while we're on the webinar, throw it in the questions and let's answer a few of those. And we can wrap up and let you get on with your afternoon. I know Queensland's expecting us another storm for the day. It seems like it's every day at the moment. The giant hail alerts come through. But yeah, we are all good here. So questions are starting to flow as well. And thanks for those that have popped in whether they would like a session off the back of this as well. You'll probably still receive a call even if you said no to booking the session, just to get your feedback. Obviously we want these to be relevant, want them to add value, and appreciate you taking the time out today. So we'll close off the poll there now. And we will follow up with those that have indicated both ways as well, and hit us with those questions. So we've got a couple flowing through. Content writer, yeah, I think that's a good point as well. There, you can engage services of a content writer, a professional who does understand how to best use keywords and best approach the writing piece. How does a blog reach more people than Facebook? Tell us about that. Your thoughts on that, James?
Well, I think they work together.
Mm.
At the end of the day, how does, it's kind of a hard question to answer because probably every single person's got a Facebook account. So I wouldn't say
Yep.
by logins is it going to have a far reach, but it comes down to, if say your business page hasn't got many followers on there because maybe you haven't done much interaction with Facebook leading up to this. But your blog post, if you've got, say, a large database and you're sending that out in your newsletter, you might have 10,000 people in your database. It might even be 5,000, could be only 1,000. But I'm sure that's probably going to be a higher number than the number of people that are following you on Facebook. It might be you've got a large large Facebook following, but generally your database will be larger than Facebook. So you can use that database to share out that content. And that's when you're going to find people might see it more on your website than they would on Facebook. But I would use both of them. To me, Facebook is like email is a pathway to get people to my website. So I'd be sharing that blog post that you added on your website to Facebook. And if you're a real big Facebook backer, boost it. Spend even $10 if it's a really good post. Boost that up. Get the most out of it.
For sure. Great points there. I think it's all about where the eyeballs are, aren't they? So a lot of people spending a lot of time that aren't necessarily in real estate mode on the likes of Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all of these different platforms now exist, but you've got to pick the one that resonates with you, where you feel your local community is. So just get that extra reach, I think, is the key, isn't it? So I think that's a great question. Look, thanks for the questions coming through. Anyone else got anything they want to add? Otherwise, we can wrap up, let you get on with your afternoon, and we'd love to have you back. We're producing probably on average at least one a month, sometimes two a month of webinar content, and ideally want to hear from you is what is most relevant for you. So appreciate you taking the time to join James and I, Proptech Group, and Eagle, Vault, Website Blue, many parts of our brands. We'd love sharing any tips and tricks that are going to help you, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you all for joining in here. Yep, I hope you've taken something really good away from this. And look, just one last thing, create a marketing schedule, please. Even if it's just one item a week, I'll be so happy to see that. If I have conversations with people and they're saying to me, oh, look, I've added these items into my marketing schedule, I'll be very happy if that's all if people take away from this. Have a great
Bit
afternoon.
of planning. Thank you.